This video is going to talk about opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost essentially arises when any decision is made, and it refers to the cost of the next best opportunity forgone. Basically, whenever you make a choice, you lose out on something else, and that's your next best opportunity. And the cost of losing out on that is the cost of that is opportunity cost, right? Uh, so that's quite simply opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost could can also be calculated. So let's take an example. Right, you have 40 units of A and 20 units of B. At any one point, 40 units of A and 20 units of B can be produced together, or 60 units of A and 10 units of B can be produced together at the same time, right? Now, let's say there's someone who's producing this, okay, the first way, and now they want to increase the amount of A that is produced. So, what would the opportunity cost be? Now, opportunity cost is basically the ratio of the changes. So, for A by B is nothing, or the change in A, delta represents change. Okay, that's very useful to remember. So the change in A by the change in B is nothing but a ratio, right? Remember, a fraction is always a ratio, right? So for every 1 unit of B, what we want to find is for every 1 unit of B, um, how much A are we losing, or for every 1 unit of A, how much B are we losing? So when we substitute in our numbers here the change is 20, and here it's 10. So for every 20 units of A, that for the increase in 20 units of A, you lose out on 10 units of B, and that's nothing but -2. So for A is to B, that's just 2 by -1, or A is equal to 2, B is equal to -1. So for every 2 units of A, you lose out on 1 unit of B, or for every 1 unit of B, you for every 1 unit of B lost, you gain 2 units of A, right? That's how you calculate opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost can also be represented on production possibility curve diagrams, or PPC curves, right? PPC diagrams, sorry. So what this represents essentially is the maximum combination of any two products. So either goods and services, or any two goods, or any two services, or whatever. So it's basically representing the maximum combination of two items, right, that can be produced either in an economy or in a firm. Usually it's used for economies, but sometimes it can be used for firms as well, right? So here let's take, the usually we take goods on the y-axis and services on the x-axis. So let's do that here. So now we're going to look at interpreting this. So at A, right, um, at A, all of the resources are dedicated to producing goods. So this means 100% goods and 0% services, right? That is what A basically means. So, I mean, this is quite straightforward. Now, there will usually be numbers, but sometimes you don't have numbers. So look at it in terms of percentage. So here at B, all the resources are dedicated towards producing services. So you have 100% dedicated to services and therefore 0% dedicated to goods. Now I'm going to look at C and D, but before that, we're going to label their points. So here C meets the y-axis at, let's say, C1, and then this will be C2. Now, you be careful when you are writing numbers. So whenever you write a number, make sure that that point, right, whatever point it is on, the corresponding lines are named, um, appropriately. So if you do have, something like this, where, 1 would be before 2. So here you have 1 and 2, but here it would be 2 and 1. You can make errors if you mislabel it. So always make sure that you know, label it correctly. So here we have S1, because this is our first point, and we have S2 as well. So at C1, let's say 60% to goods and 40% to services, right? And here we have 40% goods and 60% services. Right? These are a combination that occurs. And here, let's say this is 50-50. Okay. Now, moving along this axis results in opportunity cost. A movement along this axis, so if you're moving from A to C, C to D, B to D, C to D to C, D to A, B to A, anything results in an opportunity cost. Because if you notice 100, 0, 40, 60, 40, 60, 100, 0, 100% of the resources are being utilized. So changing something would result in less of the other item being produced. So here you have 100 goods, but moving to C, you only have 60%. So 40% has just gone, right? Now at E, this E and F are both special cases. So at E, you might have, let's say, 50% goods, 50% services, but only 30% goods. So at this point, you still have room to increase the production in either way. You can make it 60% services and you still have 10% left over, 60-30, or you can make it 60-40, or you can make it 70-30, or you can make it 50-50, or yeah. So you can change it in any way, right? And that wouldn't result in the other percentage being decreased. So you still have room for more. So that is within the production possibility of the economy, the maximum combination. This is where most economies lie, because for a country to be on its PPC, another thing is it needs to be the most efficient use of all the resources. So all resources need to be efficiently used, and all of them also need to be employed. If some are not used, or some are not used efficiently, then you won't be on the PPC. Now, F is a hypothetical case where it exceeds the current production possibility of the country, but in the future, due to economic growth, if the PPC expands outwards, then F may very well be on the production possibility curve or within the curve, at which point that would be possible, right? Now, there could be a case where comes on the production possibility curve, and that is due to a recession. That could be due to some unfavorable weather or some massive destruction that happened. And that's pretty much it.